The Cederberg Municipality in the Western Cape has become the first Hung Council in the country to form a coalition government. The DA, the FF Plus and Cederberg First Residence Association have struck a deal to govern the municipality that was previously run by the ANC. And joining us now is political analyst Sandile Swana to take us through what this means. Mr. Swana, very good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us and a warm welcome to the Globe. Please unmute your device, sir. We're not able to hear you.
Good evening, Simpu, and to your viewers of the Globe. Thank you.
All right, there we go. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. First of all, what do the coalition agreements in Cederberg mean for right-wing politics in the country?
Yeah, I think we need to be very careful about this terminology of right-wing and left-wing. What I mean by that is that what has actually happened now is that, for instance, the Freedom Front Plus has now issued principles that say they represent cultural minorities, etc., cultures that could be swamped by the majority, etc., as opposed to white Afrikaner only. So that idea itself, whilst it may appear at face value to be gaining momentum, but people are starting also to understand that you've got to represent principles, not necessarily simply ethnicities. In the Western Cape, I like the words of Dr. Ruben Richards, because his view is that local is lekker. So yes, the parties that are thoroughly grounded in the local communities, the guys who knows the pothole at that specific street corner, are the ones who are winning. And those are the ones that people want in power. They also do not want somebody who comes with a grand national political ideology. They want someone who can talk about fixing the actual municipal infrastructure locally, not bamboozling them with fancy national ideologies. So the local party that is grounded and rooted in the local communities, that understands the problems on the ground, is gaining momentum right now.
And having said that, I mean, is it safe to say that, the best coalitions are the ones that serve similar interests and similar electorates?
Let's try to be very direct about this. If you are a Marxist or a liberal, you want your sewerage to work. Doesn't matter. You just want the sewerage to work. Big fancy ideas are irrelevant. And what the municipality needs to do really is actually already written in the Constitution, Section 152, in the Municipal Systems Act and in the Municipal Finance Management Act. So you don't need to be a Marxist, you don't need to be a liberal, you just need to read the Constitution and the related laws and do what is there. And I do not see why you should be in politics, certainly local government politics, if your aim is not to do what the Constitution is telling you to do about local government matters. So when we talk about agreement in essence is about agreement about what those laws are saying, because the duties of the municipalities are written down up front. And unfortunately, in most of these municipalities, including the Cederberg, that has been abandoned for some time now. So parties need to agree about what is in the law, not ideological agreement. You can't ever have. You need to agree about technical issues.
You're quite right there, Mr. Swana. I mean, all the parties need to abide by the agreements that have been set out by the law to run a particular municipality. But we've seen in the past, great disagreements and having collapsed municipalities at some point. So if there's a conflict within a collective executive committee in a coalition government, how would that be resolved without collapsing the municipality and ultimately affecting service delivery?
The way these first of all, the way these agreements are being written, there is obviously previous experience. Maybe let me add something here. The DA was also involved in assisting the formulation of the Cederberg coalition. The DA is one of the parties that we know went to Germany and at an earlier stage in view of the 2016 election outcomes, et cetera, and started learning how to construct coalitions. And they went into it and had a lot of other problems, and elsewhere they had a lot of successes. So people know now that a coalition needs to have an internal resolution, dispute resolution mechanism. But if you look at the Cederberg, the ANC had a major role in the DA, but from an ANC perspective, had a major role in disrupting governance there by luring away the deputy, I think it was the deputy mayor at the time, and so on and so forth, away from the DA and trying to collapse, and then conducted a number of illegal activities after that in the municipality. Similarly, the conflicts that happened in Tshwane, where the provincial government of the ANC intervened unlawfully in the running of the municipality and caused the municipality to be dysfunctional. So a municipality, a coalition in a municipality can be disrupted by the party that is not in power. So you need to also guard against that, to say, how do you protect yourself from the party that is not in power in the municipality, disrupting the actual operation of the municipality?
Yeah, and the objections, the objections of the ANC mayoral candidates in Mangaung seem to perpetuate that trend, in the run-up of the local government elections, the trend of jostling for positions within the ruling party. Are we likely to see that in the negotiations for seats or the allocation of seats in a coalition government?
Yes, the problem is very big in terms of its scale. Geographic scale. What happened in Mangaung, and it applies elsewhere, is that in the Free State and in Mangaung, the old faction, which is the Makashule faction that was running Mangaung and actually running it to the ground to the point that it was taken over into administration, has actually had the upper hand in the build-up to these elections and in putting forward its own preferred mayoral candidates, and in fact doing certain things that appear to be showing that they would prefer the status quo as we've known it before to continue. And the status quo that, as we've known before, was a situation where instructions from National Treasury are ignored, unsustainable deficits are run, excessive tariffs are being charged on residents. Service delivery is not happening. People who were directly and clearly implicated in that are being considered probably to form the troika, which would have been what you call the mayor, the speaker, and the chief whip. And that dispute has been going on long before the elections, and it is intensifying now. And Dugwana and his crew are trying to do their bit to introduce new blood and whatever else. So the factional battles where the ANC is concerned are very strong. But where coalitions are being negotiated outside of the factional battles of the ANC, you are then finding that other issues are at the fore, and probably the technical issues of how to revamp the quality of staff in the municipality, et cetera, are actually the issues that are being discussed.
Let's talk about the role of a deal maker for political leadership, or put simply, the kingmaker in a coalition government. What is the role of that particular kingmaker, and just how influential is that party in terms of delivering the services? Because some may argue that, it was solely for the intention of allocating seats for their party, hence protecting their interest and not necessarily, trying to deliver the services of the larger populace.
Yes, the example, it has been, whether it's an accident of history or whatever it is, the example in Cederberg is actually quite encouraging, because the kingmaker there is called the Cederberg Residence First. Mm-hmm. What it means that the priority of that residence association is simply services. Actually, the water must come out of the tap. The roads must have no potholes. So that is that. And so whoever they bring on board into the coalition. They bring those people on board on technical issues. The problems, and I've listened to some of your clips before I came online.
Yeah.
For instance, the discussion by Malema, those issues that are there are issues of power mongering, and some of them may well be contested in court and not well. For instance, why would anyone agree that EFF must be given Tshwane when in the actual vote there's no sign that the residents wanted the EFF to be in power alone, let alone in full power in Tshwane? And there's nowhere where they've been given any municipality in South Africa. So why would they be given one of the largest metro in South Africa, other than that they can conduct corrupt activities with nobody actually checking them or doing anything? They can do what they like on their own, and then we will regret and say, no, it was a mistake 5 years down the road,
yes.
And so on and so forth. So the issue here, the conflict in these elections has been that, yes, the 2011 and 2016, if I've got my dates correct, 2016 elections sent a message about hung municipalities. And that message has become very strong this year in the 2021 election, that, guys, most of you who are participating in these elections, as single entities, we don't trust. We want a salad of a government, a coalition government. We don't want one of you to run alone. We want something like that. And they now tend to use this thing not to say that party has got very strong engineering skills, that one has got these types of skills. Let's look at the skills for service delivery. They are then discussing positions in terms of who's going to earn which salaries, who's going to be having access to which tenders. That is why the previous coalitions had problems. For those who were in the coalition and those who were outside, because those who were outside were feeling a little bit hungry, wanting to jump in by any means possible, including illegal means. So that is the issue that needs to be resolved, that municipal coalitions have to be technical in nature and service delivery focused, and that is a technical issue.
Mr. Swana, lovely chatting to you. Thank you so much for joining us and for your insights on this matter.